Unless you live under a rock, you've probably heard by now that Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is getting a remake. Rumors about what the remake will entail have been abundant, but there's very little concrete information about what the game is actually going to look like. We don't know anything about how the gameplay story and everything else will be altered by the new game. We do know one thing for certain, however. Our boy Revan is back. We know very little about how the remake will treat Revan, however, and there are a ton of possibilities as to how Aspyr Studios might implement this fan favorite character. In this video, we're going to be looking at what information we have and laying out the possibilities for how the KOTOR remake will deal with Revan.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
First and foremost, there are going to be massive spoilers for the original game in this video. If you have yet to play Knights of the Old Republic, we highly recommend you do so before watching this video. Don't wait for a remake to enjoy this absolute trip of a game. Here at Geetsly's, we've been a bit wary of any rumors about Knights of the Old Republic material for one major reason. The original story of KOTOR is incompatible with canon due to changes Star Wars Rebels made to Malachor and the history of the Mandalorians. We feared that any new KOTOR material would stray far from the original story, which was about as close to perfection as Star Wars can get. But our fears were assuaged, at least a little, by the trailer remake. Firstly, it showed us that familiar characters were returning. We saw Revan in the trailer, and we also heard the voice of Bastila Shan. We also learned that the plot of the game seems to at least resemble that of the original. In the remake, as in the original, the Jedi and the Republic will be locked in a desperate battle with the Sith Empire, one led by Darth Revan. If the remake is following the rough plot of the original game, then the presentation of Revan as the game's antagonist is a likely tease, as in the original KOTOR, the game started with Revan having recently been killed, or so you're told. If you ignored our earlier spoiler warning and haven't played the original, this is your last chance to spare yourself. If you're still watching, you probably know the twist of the original Knights of the Old Republic, that the self-insert player character was actually Revan the entire time, having been captured and mind-wiped by the Jedi. As this is one of the most legendary twists in gaming history, it's a fair bet that Aspyr Studios will go a similar route in the remake. In general, it's a fair bet that the basic structure of Revan's story will be ported over from old to new. He'll start as a soldier in the Republic fleet, will end up becoming a Jedi, will discover his true identity, and then will make the choice to either save the Republic or condemn the galaxy to Sith rule. However, in the original game, the details of Revan's character are entirely customizable by the player. This didn't just include story choices, but also appearance and gender. When Darth Revan appears in flashback cutscenes before the reveal, he's fully cloaked and masked, and is, for all intents and purposes, androgynous. This is partly for the sake of immersion and partly to give the game's twist more kick. It hits harder to learn that your character's the Dark Lord of the Sith when your character is modeled after you. Depending on the player, Revan could be anything from a long-haired man who saves the galaxy to a short-haired woman who chooses the dark side. The variance here could have major implications for the greater canon. This was all well and good for gameplay purposes, but back when Knights of the Old Republic was released, it caused a bit of confusion for lore masters. It was totally unknown, at first, what Revan was like canonically. While this wouldn't be a problem for most player insert characters, it was tricky because Revan wasn't some anonymous interloper, but a major figure in galactic history. Large parts of the lore revolved around Revan, and at first, fans didn't even know whether Revan was canonically male or female, never mind what he really looked like under the mask. The necessary details were confirmed by Lucasfilm shortly after the game's release. Revan, canonically, was male. When Knights of the Old Republic 2 was released 2 years later, Lucasfilm again settled on a canon gender for the Exile, the player insert protagonist, causing a bit of an uproar by declaring the Exile canonically female. But for a while, no further details about the canonical appearance of Revan or the Exile were released. For about a decade, Legends materials chose to just write around this. In the Knights of the Old Republic comics, the scenes that Revan is in before he claims his mask depict him as a cloaked, hooded figure with no visible face. This forced the writers to keep his appearances to a minimum, at least until he took up the mask. A similar route was taken with KOTOR 2's Exile, except in her case, she just wasn't given any appearances in expanded material at all. Both Revan and the Exile remain faceless, and in the Exile's case, nameless, until Star Wars The Old Republic came out. The Old Republic gave Revan a canon face, one vaguely based on the popular Mullet Man appearance from KOTOR. This was a bit of a controversial decision at the time. Some fans complained that Revan was supposed to be a self-insert and that giving him a face hampered that. Others argued that it diminished the sense of mystery that Revan had, a charge that was levied at the Old Republic on a number of other topics as well. But a lot of fans, particularly those who like to keep track of lore, celebrated the decision as it diminished the uncertainty in canon. It's a fair bet that Revan's appearance will be customizable in the remake, but we have two questions about this. How customizable will it be, and will the Lucasfilm story group settle on a canon appearance? Since the KOTOR remakes is intended to be a modern game with modern graphics, it's entirely possible that customization may be limited to make development easier, creating preset male and female appearances and allowing the player to pick one. We figure there'll be a bit more variety in our choices than that, but it's a possibility we should consider at the very least. If appearance in the remake is as customizable as it was in the original, then the story group may again pick a canon appearance for Revan, or they may choose not to. Lucasfilm could easily decide to just leave Revan's face canonically blank this time, leaving the character subjective and mysterious. They may not even settle on a canonical gender for the character. That would probably have a much larger impact on the canon, since if the remake is anything like the original, it would leave it canonically ambiguous which character, if any, Revan pursued a romance with over the course of the game. The original KOTOR 2, furthermore, had two companions that would choose to join the player based on the chosen gender, and if the remake does something like that, it would complicate canon even further if Lucasfilm declines to make a decision. It's worth noting that the trailer for the remake referred to Revan as a singular they, which indicates that Lucasfilm is keeping any and all details about Revan ambiguous now. Perhaps Revan's canonical gender and appearance will be kept more or less the same as they are in Legends. Perhaps they will be left ambiguous. It's also entirely possible that Lucasfilm will choose to take a different canonical route with Revan this time. A number of KOTOR fans hold the opinion that, after the release of the original games, Revan should have been canonically female and the Exile should have been canonically male. Perhaps Lucasfilm will choose to go that route this time around. That's all we know at this point. It's possible we'll learn more in the future and the lead up to the remake's release. But for now, what do you think? Do you think the details of Revan's character should be left ambiguous? And if not, would you be interested in seeing Lucasfilm take a different route with the character? Free to post your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.